Hey, it's Rachel, and I want to talk to you if you have a strong-willed or spirited or stubborn child, a child who negotiates with you all the time or is defiant or gets angry when you ask them to do something. And I know chances are the strategies that you've tried to this point don't work. And I know this because I work with a lot of parents of strong-willed children, and I know by the time they get to me, they've tried so many different things. So I want to talk to you about maybe one or two things that you might not realize and you might not have tried yet because they're simply not traditional strategies. And the first thing I want to tell you about children who are really stubborn or really strong-willed is that that is actually a sign of a type of anxiety. Now, it's not the traditional anxiety like I'm worried that something bad might happen. It's more of an anxiety a child has, and even some adults have this, that if things don't go a certain way, I can't handle it. So maybe they're imagining they're going to have a certain dessert after dinner, and you say no, and they freak out because they imagine things were going to go that way. They were going to be able to have the dessert. Or maybe they have to, they were imagining that they were going to do their homework after soccer practice, and you want them to do it before. They imagine things were going to go a certain way, they don't go that way, and they can't handle it. And the way kids, and often some adults, cope with this is they try to become more controlling. That's why you see this stubborn behavior, this negotiating, these meltdowns when they don't get their way, because they're trying to cope with the fact that things aren't going the way they want by becoming more controlling. These are simply symptoms of a child feeling out of control. So what do you do about this? The first thing to think about is, and you've probably tried this one before, make sure you are being very consistent. Because believe it or not, kids who like control and kids who like to, things to go their way also like predictability. And the more predictable you are, the more they know that you're going to be consistent, actually the better they feel inside. But the second thing I suggest that you do while you're being consistent is probably something you haven't tried yet. And that is, instead of focusing on your child when they are being strong-willed or stubborn, focus on yourself and staying calm and firm and in control. We spend so much time trying to get our kids to do what they're supposed to do that we get involved in these power struggles. Well, power struggles really do take two people. And if you can focus on staying calm and in control yourself, and maybe what you need to do is have a strategy for yourself. One of the strategies I use to stay calm, because I'm not a calm person. One of the things I do is I do a small mental exercise. This can be very quick, but it helps me to focus instead of on my kids, it helps me to focus on myself and staying in control. So I personally do something where I go through the alphabet and I skip a letter, so I go A, C, E. It just helps me focus more on what's going on inside of me than what's going on with them, and I can stay calm and in control. And it's really important that you do focus more on yourself than on controlling your child in that moment for a couple of reasons. First of all, remember, they're coping. They're going to just get higher and higher into this power struggle if that's what you're doing. But the other more important reason that you want to do this is that you want to model what it looks like when things aren't going your way. That's what you want to teach your child, right? To stay calm when things aren't going their way or to be able to handle it. Well, if we can't even handle it when things aren't going our way because our kids aren't doing what we ask, how do we expect them to handle it when things aren't going their way? The other thing that happens is when you start to control yourself and you show them that they can't control you, then eventually they stop trying to control you and they have to focus on controlling themselves, which again is ultimately what you want. So in the moment, instead of focusing on controlling them or getting them to do something, just focus on staying calm and firm yourself. The other suggestion I have for you is something you want to do more proactively, and that is what I call making deposits into your child's need for control. We do have to tell kids what to do a lot of the day. And what happens is they have so many people telling them what to do all the time that eventually their brain says, I need to get some control back. But if we are making these deposits throughout the day, they don't feel like they have to get control back. So examples of deposits, one thing you can do is give them ownership over processes. So you may decide a rule, but they can decide the how. For example, you may say it's time to brush your teeth, but you say to them, how do you want to do it? Which toothbrush do you want to use? Which sink do you want to use? Do you want music on or off while you're brushing your teeth? So you're setting the boundary, but you're giving them complete ownership and control over how it goes. The other thing that you can do more proactively is to defer to them as an expert. So ask them about something that they're really interested in or something they're really good at. Ask them to teach you about it, where they are all of a sudden in a role of power or control because they become the teacher and you are the learner or the recipient. Those are ways you can deposit more proactively so that in the moment they don't need to cope when they feel out of control. So I hope that gives you some ideas for how to handle a stubborn or strong-willed or spirited child in a less traditional way. Feel free to reach out with any questions at rachel@rachel-bailey.com. I'll see you next time.